Listeners and subscribers, hope all is well. My regular followers probably noticed I didn't put out any content last week. I had some unforeseen issues come up, as we all do. If you've noticed, I've been updating my channel, my thumbnails and titles to more accurately reflect their content. If you're new to my channel in general, I'm an investigative writer that's adopted the YouTube platform to basically compile a comprehensive forensic investigation of internet resources, all the while attempting to discern fact from fiction. I'm not striving for BBC-style documentaries, not yet anyway, but I articulate confrontational subject matter that can kind of be used as a crash course for alternative mainstream narratives. A type of open source citizens collaboration, if you will. So, with censorship on the rise and some major YouTube channels spontaneously being deleted or suspended, I created a backup channel. There's like this kerfuffle going on between truthful and fictional information. That's what this whole fake news motif has really been about. We all know who the real fake news agencies are, but now, more than ever, independent citizen fact-checkers are really taking it on the chops. Maybe at least in terms of this generation. There are more instances where citizens who've captured events on their phones had those phones confiscated by law enforcement and in some cases wiped. But that isn't what this video is meant to encompass. Let me wax emphatic. I seriously recommend at least a tertiary platform for uploads if you're your own journalist. Don't put all your proverbial eggs in one basket. Now, appropriately, my backup channel is called A Reference for Alternative Narratives. It's named after the book I'm writing and a blog I've had about 4 years but hasn't seen much activity lately. Aside from that, let me paint a broad picture for some of the things I generally like to encourage. I'm partial to the idea that engaging legitimately inquiring or open minds with tangible, plausible testimony is capable of invoking local momentum for independent fact verification. What I mean to say is that we need a system of checks and balances when conglomerate agencies intentionally perpetuate misinformation, be it news media or Apple. I like to try to expand people's sense of what's possible and help them realize their own mental faculties to breach sometimes narrow mindsets fomented largely during adolescence. I mean, I know adults who are mentally still sophomores, not intellectually, but in terms of maturity or problem assessment. Sometimes the problem-solving mechanisms we develop as children become issues for us as adults. If you cried and stomped your feet or shut down with a pouting attitude, but failed to phase that out in adulthood, you might see how that could translate to potential barriers later in life. But I'd like to shift gears here and be more forthcoming. If you do have an affinity for running to the first mainstream narrative that becomes available, we may run into initial friction here. Let's be honest, there's no real way I'm going to be able to break down the public's solid walls of cognitive dissonance, willful ignorance, and mindless self-deception, and I'm failing if that's a sole aspiration anyway. In part, I'm here to provide research and information to those who are intellectually honest and are looking for a bit of straight talk. If you haven't watched my video on what happened leading up to and after August 2017's eclipse, I'll link it at the end of today's episode and of course in the show notes. But January 31st, 2018, the day of the super blue blood moon eclipse, hundreds of birds dropped dead out of the sky in Draper, Utah. Explanations range from lightning, poison, and airplanes, but what stands out to me, and perhaps just to me, is the timing, because weird things have been happening all over the earth. As some of you may have heard, the doomsday clock was moved forward 2 minutes to midnight. Alone, this stuff doesn't mean much, but coupled with tangential connections, things seem to go beyond mere coincidence. Like my wife, right? She shows me this series on Netflix called Dark, where in episode 4, I believe entitled Double Lives, birds are dropping out of the sky by the dozens. But get this, some of the characters make connections to wireless frequencies and invisible energy saturation. Maybe these movies and TV shows are trying to tell us something. I close with that because I'll be getting into the systems that are coming online. At the end of the day, I think there's enough going on in appreciable amounts that indicates coming reformation. And I don't think we're gonna like it. Thanks for checking me out.